Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on OptiMSM for sports performance, supporting oxidative stress defense and muscle recovery. My name is Liz McNamara. I'm the Sales and Business Development Manager for Australia and New Zealand for Balchem, and I'll be facilitating today's session. It's really great to have you all here. Next slide, please. So today our experts, Jessica Arnoley and Rodney Benjamin, are going to discuss the category trends and consumer insights. They're going to look at the science and the unique points of difference that elevate OptiMSM above other MSMs in the market. And they're going to delve into the opportunity within the active sports nutrition category. So please allow me to introduce you to Jessica and Rod. Jessica Arnoley is the Senior Marketing and Business Development Manager looking after OptiMSM for Balchem. She holds a business school degree and an MBA from the Essex Business School in France. Jessica is a marketing expert with extensive international experience, specializing in FMCG and B2B solutions. Her career has spanned the globe and she has developed a comprehensive understanding of diverse markets. Today, Jessica will lead us through the latest insights as it relates to the active nutrition market in the Asia Pacific region. Rodney Benjamin is the Director of R&D at Balchem Corporation. Rod has worked extensively with MSM since 1997, and he holds degrees in both chemistry and business administration. Rod's also the inventor of numerous MSM patents and is considered a subject matter expert when it comes to methylsulfonylmethane or MSM. Rod has spoken extensively internationally and domestically in the US on the topic of MSM, and we're lucky today that Rod will delve into the most recent research on performance and recovery. At the end of the session, we're going to wrap up with some examples of innovation that we're excited by, and we hope to have a short amount of time for Q&A. You can submit questions through the Q&A function or the chat. We will keep an eye on both. And any questions we don't have time for, we'll answer by email. The webinar will also be available to view afterwards and will be emailed to you directly. So I'll give an introduction to Balchem. Thank you. So Balchem was founded in 1967. It's a publicly listed company with the head office in New Jersey. And we have 3 different business units, so human nutrition, animal nutrition, and specialty. We have about 1,300 staff located around the world. And our mission is to make the world a healthier place. So if you jump to the next slide, then you'll see that we have these amazing, high quality, well-researched brands that provide solutions across the lifespan. So OptiMSM, we are going to hear all about today. Albion is the original chelate mineral. Vitacholine is the most clinically studied human choline. K2 Vital has the longest and largest clinical studies for vitamin K2. And our newest ingredient is Optifolin Plus, a choline-enriched and stable form of folate. So I'm now happy to hand over to Jessica, who will get started. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Liz, for this introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica. I'm responsible for the brand OptiMSM from a marketing and business development standpoint, and I'm very happy to talk to you today about a few category trends and consumer insights that we see around the globe and that we see especially in Asia to kind of put everything into perspective. So with no surprise, we can see that the world's population is aging. So virtually every country in the world is experiencing growth in the number of older persons, the proportion of older persons in their population, which puts longevity really in the forefront of all the trends that we see coming up on the market. So 73% of consumers globally consider that healthy aging is extremely all very important to them. So that's very something that they have in mind, that they want to take care of, and they reach out to supplements to do so. 32% of those consumers also globally are interested in the physical benefits that help them age well. So whether it's sports, reaching out to supplements, tracking apps, keeping them healthy for a longer time is what they have in mind. 21% of consumers globally purchase food and drinks monthly to support their healthy aging journey. So you see, with no surprise, the trend in functional foods, functional beverages, all on the rise around the globe. And it's important across the generations. So when you ask consumers from Gen Z to boomers how important healthy aging is to you, well, even for the Gen Z generation, so the younger ones, 61% of them would say it is important to me to age well. And in Asia, bone and joint health is among the top 3 physical concerns of consumers in the region. So it's really around mobility, around the ability to move as you age, that keeps consumers reaching out to supplements. So joint health, as we can see, is a priority for the aging population. So when you ask Gen X and boomers which aspects of healthy aging are most important to you, 38% of them are saying it's about maintaining my mobility, the ability to keep playing with my grandchildren, to keep doing sports, to keep doing the things I like. And 46% of them say that bones and joints is their number one concern. And we can see a number of brands. For example, here in Korea, we have this very nice example of Ceromax, a joint product featuring OptiMSM, on the go, convenient to help those consumers reach their goals. But it's not only about also having healthy joints and being mobile. It's also about, keeping you healthy as you exercise on a daily basis. And we can see across the globe and also in Asia how important energy and sports drink and functional beverages are getting traction. So a few examples of trends here that we can see in the region. Energy and sports drinks launches are growing at a double-digit rate between 2 years ago in December 2025 in Southeast Asia, so it's rapidly growing. Another example in the Philippines is a leading country for energy and sports drinks during the same period. So that was surprising to find out. So the Philippines are very interested in this category. In Southeast Asia, Redcon One is the top company for these energy and sports drinks. The fastest growing claim in terms of trends is a no added sugar trend. And undefined flavor, which is, for example, blue burst or like yellow energy, is the fastest growing flavor during the past year. So these are the few trends that we can see in the region when it comes to sports. And brands tend to align these offerings with key drivers to shape their energy sports drink choices. And so what is influencing consumers in their decisions in Asia to buy functional food linked to sports? The number one is health, linked to longevity, of course. The number two driver is price, and the third driver is functionality and effectiveness. So the fact that you can carry it with you and bring it along the way goes a long way. So the category is expanding beyond traditional energy positioning and kind of switching around diverse subcategories such as protein for recovery, MSM for recovery, as we're going to see later on, carbohydrates for rapid energy, and also electrolytes for hydration and balance. So all this diversification enables brands to target specific performance and wellness needs. So it's not one size fits all. Everyone can find what they're looking for in their different drinks. And it broadens the relevance across fitness, recovery, and everyday hydration occasions. Another trend that's important for the consumers, and notably in Asia, is they want their products coming from real ingredients, sorry, they can name and trust. So 1 in 4 consumers in Southeast Asia agree with, I want to have food, supplement and drinks made with real ingredients and natural claims, and it's important to me. Another trend that we can see is that consumers in Southeast Asia show stronger trust in ingredients that naturally deliver functional benefits, such as electrolytes for coconut water, protein from milk, with added nutrients often used to reinforce these inherent properties. So, MSM is one example, but you have a lot of also vitamins and minerals that can meet the demand. This shift's preference toward products is going where functionality is anchored in natural ingredients, just than soul fortification. And also brands can leverage this by highlighting ingredient-led nutrition, using added nutrients to enhance performance while maintaining credibility and clean, simple formulation. So those different drivers when it comes to what am I looking for in a sports and performance product in Southeast Asia is driven by different needs from consumers. The first one is that the research is boosting and sustaining energy, type of pre-workout product. The number one for sports is linked to my first introduction with joint health. They want to improve bone and joint health, even with their sports supplements and sports drinks. The third one is hydrating, rehydrating, and improving sports performance and recovery. And the fourth one is building muscle tone, muscle mass, and boosting immunity. So this ends my part regarding trends. I will explain later on the benefits of OptiMSM, but right now I hand over to Rod, who is going to give you an overview of what OptiMSM is and dive into the science.
Thank you, Jessica. So dive a little bit into the science. As Jessica said, I'm Rod Benjamin, and Liz gave a nice introduction. Thank you, Liz, as we were beginning the webinar. So let's start with what is sulfur. So remember, MSM is 34% sulfur by weight, and sulfur is a mineral that's found in various foods, sources of drinking water, and multiple important roles in human nutrition. It plays both a structural role, right, because sulfur is part of a number of building blocks, critical molecules within the body. Chondroitin sulfate, for example, is found in our cartilage, keratin sulfate in cartilage and bone, and then glutathione, which is the major endogenous antioxidant found within the body. And it also depends a lot on sulfur. It also plays a functional role, and sulfur-containing compounds have multiple functions in the body, such as antioxidant. That's the glutathione, defense and maintenance of joints. But that functional role, there's also like disulfide bonds, like as for instance in pro-collagen, when you're getting collagen fibers to make up tendons and ligaments, it depends on pro-collagen, and those the strength and proper alignment as those form are due to disulfide bonds. So that's important. So where do we find sulfur in our diets? Well, you got 19% is inorganic sulfur that's found in food, 17% in drinking water, but that's inorganic sulfur. There's as much as 64% is organic sulfur compounds that are found in our diet, including sulfur-containing amino acids, but also in lots of our fruits and vegetables, you're going to find organic sulfur compounds. So 64% is organic. There we go. So what is a methylsulfonylmethane or MSM? So this is a diagram of an MSM molecule. As you can see there in the center, you've got sulfur. It's 34% sulfur by weight. 32% is methyl groups. So it's sulfur, 2 double bonded oxygens, and 2 methyl groups, right? It's always amazed me because you have, if you look at the structure of that molecule, and MSM is, from a chemical standpoint, is a very stable molecule and doesn't react. It's actually, even some of the industrial uses, they use it for polymerization chemistry and whatnot. Because it is so stable, it doesn't interact with a lot of things if you look at it strictly from a chemical standpoint. But it does provide multiple advantages in the body. It acts as a source of sulfur, a source of methyl groups. We know that supplementation with MSM has been demonstrated to give both joint and skin health benefits, and it also supports exercise recovery. So it's always, I've found it always amazing how something that's so stable from a chemical standpoint can have such a broad utility and uses, so many uses in the body, right? MSM is naturally present in food, but it is in small enough quantities that it is not really commercially feasible for direct extraction. So that's why we actually make it. It is made synthetically. But if you look, remember that molecule is extremely a small, a rather simple molecule. So there is no isomers or anything like that. So it's easy for us to make MSM that is biomimetic, or in other words, exactly the same as that which is found in nature. It is found milk, coffee, tea, in, again, Swiss chard, so lots of your fruits and vegetables. But, you know, it's just unfortunate that it's at a low enough concentration that's not commercially feasible to do extraction. So I was talking a lot about sulfur and sulfur donation, but we long suspected, since we knew that it, I mean, that was actually the first study to prove that was in the late 80s, where we used radiolabeled sulfur, and it showed up in sulfur-containing amino acids in an animal model, a guinea pig. So we always suspected that it also donated its methyl groups, but it wasn't until 2022 that we actually came up with a study to demonstrate that. And what we were able to do, we took and made deuterated methyl groups. So we made MSM with these deuterated methyl groups, and then we were able to put those into a very specific, it's a type of liver cell, human HepaRG cells. It's a hepatocyte. And we looked at 3 different concentrations of MSM, and we were able to demonstrate the methyl groups from MSM actually methylated the DNA within these hepatocytes. And it did it in a dose-dependent manner, demonstrating that indeed MSM, as long suspected, can donate its methyl groups. So MSM does have multiple health benefits, right? So it's a very broad utility ingredient. Jessica mentioned that it's good for joint health. We're going to be talking today primarily about its uses in exercise recovery and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So how does this, remember I was talking about what a stable molecule it is from a chemical standpoint outside the body. Inside the body, it has this broad utility. How does it accomplish that? So basically, this is talking about the mechanisms of action. It's a sulfur donor. It's a methyl donor, right? Sulfur metabolism and single carbon metabolism are both very important functions within the body that have, you know, many benefits. It's also anti-inflammatory. Now, we know that it reduces inflammatory cytokines such as IL-1, TNF-alpha, IL-6. That's been well demonstrated following, you know, like exercise. It does help mitigate inflammation. Antioxidant, MSM, remember, it's a very stable molecule, so there are no reactive sites. So when it comes in the presence of a free radical, if it was just MSM, right, there's nothing there to neutralize a free radical. So how is it such a powerful antioxidant? As a matter of fact, last week I was at the International Society of Sports Nutrition. And I presented a paper where we actually did a comparison of MSM against vitamin C and NAC, and showed that MSM is comparable, but it has additional benefits due to its sulfur and methylation capabilities. So MSM, it is an antioxidant, but it does it by supporting the body's endogenous or natural occurring oxidative antioxidant capabilities through boosting reduced glutathione, also antioxidant enzymes, right, like SOD, superoxide dismutase, and catalase have both been shown to be increased upon MSM supplementation. So through those mechanisms I was just talking about, it brings that broad utility to MSM: joint health, support of joint health, performance and recovery, supporting that active lifestyle, but also beauty from within. How does it do that? It does it through those mechanisms that we just talked about in the previous slide. So now we're going to talk about some of the studies directly about how MSM and how it can support your recovery from exercise. Sorry, these slides are not advancing for me like they should. So I apologize for the pauses. There we go. So recovery is critical for performance, right? So whenever you take exercise stimulus, it decreases short-term performance, and then there's a time of recovery, which links to long-term performance, and hopefully you get long-term performance through adaptation. So you do the exercise, it kind of breaks it down, you go through a recovery period, and ultimately the stimulus recovery leads to adaptation, which hopefully makes you bigger, stronger, faster. That's kind of the point of exercise, right? And conditioning to make it bigger, stronger, faster. So the recovery is critical for performance. Regular exercise places stress on joints. So again, joint health, right? And cartilage and connective tissue found within them. Maintaining healthy joints, key component of exercise recovery and the long-lasting performance. We know that exercise can lead to oxidative stress, with factors like exercise intensity, duration, all of that impacting our ability to address the oxidative stress. It also can lead to muscle damage and pain. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail as we go through these slides and talk about some very specific studies that have been done on MSM. So what is glutathione? And I've been mentioning this as we go, that endogenous antioxidant, that main natural occurring antioxidant we have in our body. But it exists in two different forms: oxidized and reduced. And the active form is the reduced, right? And then you see there's got a circle of the sulfur, okay? And the oxidized form is actually a disulfide bond where you have, GSSG, it's the disulfide bond. So sulfur plays an extremely important role in the glutathione recycling and process within our body. And MSM helps boost our reduced glutathione and helps with our oxidative capacity within the body. That's been shown, and we'll talk about that in some of the studies as we go through these. So what does sulfur do for athletes? It's a key component of the antioxidant glutathione, as I mentioned. It also helps with healthy joints. It reduces post-exercise pain. It's funny because, at least in the US, and I know most of you are in Asia, but really pain is the only time we can talk about pain is pain following exercise, because it's a normal structure or function. It's a structure function claim. It's a normal function of the body. So delayed onset muscle soreness happens after extreme exercise, and we've shown and demonstrated that MSM can reduce or mitigate DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. We also know that MSM supplementation reduces markers of muscle damage and supports the antioxidant response after exercise. 6 different studies that have been done on exercise recovery in MSM. And it's an important slide because what I kind of want to point out here on the right-hand column here, things like, what have we looked at? Serum CK, that's creatine kinase. That's a marker of muscle damage. TAC, that's total antioxidant capacity. IL-6, IL-1B, those are inflammatory cytokines. These are the kind of things that have been measured in these exercise recovery studies. We've demonstrated a reduction in serum CK, so that's a reduction in muscle damage, increase in total antioxidant capacity. So we've looked at a lot of these different markers, the markers of oxidative damage. I'll get into that a little bit more as we get into the individual studies, but here's 6 studies on exercise recovery demonstrating MSM's benefits. In this study, we actually had 24 moderately exercise trained men treated with 3,000 milligrams per day of OptiMSM. They went through leg extensions and 2 exhaustion. And what we looked at was the muscle discomfort or pain following exercise. Results showed that MSM significantly reduced pain following exercise or delayed onset muscle soreness. In this study, there was 18 untrained males. There was a treatment of MSM of almost just shy of 4 grams per day versus placebo. So this was a double-blind placebo-controlled study. The subjects ran 14 kilometers. We did take blood samples at 30 minutes, 2 hours, 24 hours, and 48 hours. And what we looked at was oxidative stress assessment. Now, if you think back approximately 10 years or so, where a lot of antioxidants, it was kind of the super fruit craze and whatnot, and they were saying how good an antioxidant was by a test called ORAC, which is ORAC is a in vitro test, and it doesn't really take into account what does it do once it goes into the body. So really what you really need to look at, and this is what we've done with the MSM, is look at things like serum MDA. That's malondialdehyde, which is a marker of lipid or fat oxidative stress. Protein carbonyls, again, that is looking at protein oxidative damage to protein. Looking at the plasma, oxidized glutathione, reduced glutathione, and then we also looked at the total antioxidant capacity by evaluating the reduced to oxidized glutathione ratio. And the results showed that there's serum, the reduced glutathione, or excuse me, on the left, that is the oxidized, and as you can see, it's much lower, statistically significant reduction. And then also in the serum MDA, which is a marker of oxidative damage of lipids, significantly reduced in the OptiMSM group. And then this is the total antioxidant capacity. Again, almost all the way across the board, you can see that the antioxidant capacity was significantly better in the MSM group. All this leads to MSM being scientifically supported for sports and active nutrition health benefits. This can help support your next innovation. It's a nutrient that is a key component of the antioxidant glutathione, which I've mentioned several times. It helps maintain healthy joint function, provides your joint with the nutrients that they need, but it's also been shown to reduce oxidative stress after exercise, reduces post-exercise pain, reduces post-exercise muscle damage, and also improves the antioxidant response following exercise. Now, remember, okay, those prior studies, we were looking at 3-4 grams of MSM per day. But fairly recently, we just did another study to evaluate the impact of MSM supplementation on post-exercise immune response-related gene expression, right? So this is more of a genomic or gene expression, where we looked at a human immune exhaustion panel, or looking at nanostring. This is mRNA. And in this one, the subjects actually took only 500 milligrams of MSM per day for 27 days, kind of as a preloading. And then 3 days prior to them running a half marathon, which is a 21.1 kilometer run, they doubled it. So it only, but still, that's only going up to 1,000 milligrams for 3 days prior to competition. And this was split. So we had both treatment group and placebo. And the results showed that there was a number of the mRNA, the genes that were influenced by MSM in a positive way. It's much easier to see it on this, the bar graph than it was on our last one. But we saw an increased expression of genes that aid in muscle recovery following exercise. These genes help resolve the inflammatory response. It also decreased the expression of genes that cause an increase in inflammation and oxidative stress. And I'm not going to go into each and every one of these genes because, well, we just don't have time to cover those in detail. But the MSM supplementation also significantly increased expression of genes that are tied to the Notch signaling pathway. What does that do? Well, Notch signaling helps regulate muscle cell function and repair of exercise-induced muscle damage. We also found that MSM supplementation significantly decreased the expression of genes involved in inflammatory cell function. So ultimately, OptiMSM supplementation reduced the systemic inflammatory response following exercise. So how does OptiMSM work? Well, OptiMSM serves as a sulfur donor by increased glutathione and helping with an increasing oxidative capacity. OptiMSM also optimizes gene expression as a response to exercise. So it optimizes the inflammatory response to exercise, aids the response to exercise-induced muscle damage. So all the things, MSM increases recovery from exercise. So that last study with the gene expression, what we found was that we actually were able to demonstrate the benefits of OptiMSM as low as 1,000 milligrams per day, and resulting in claims that OptiMSM supplementation can improve exercise recovery. It can support post-exercise muscle recovery and improve the antioxidant capacity after exercise. And all of that at doses as low as 1,000 milligrams per day. Now that is like a third of where it was prior to this mRNA or nanostring study.
We've been looking at the existing work that we've done recently with the University of Texas, showing how OptiMSM with 1 gram per day could improve recovery after exercise. So we had all these studies before that were promoting OptiMSM at 3 grams or 3.8 grams, and with these new findings with the mRNA study, we can see that we have benefits at a lower dose. So at 1 gram per day, now we can say that OptiMSM supplementation is improving exercise recovery. OptiMSM supplementation supports post-exercise muscle recovery, and OptiMSM supplementation improves the antioxidant capacity after exercise. So if you have any type of formulation, sports nutrition formulation, and you want to add an efficient ingredient to improve recovery after exercise, MSM is a very good choice for you. So we've seen, that MSM and OptiMSM play a role in joint health, and it also plays a role in muscle recovery and fighting oxidative stress. We also have, new science that may be coming in the near future, so stay tuned. We have an ongoing commitment at Balchem to invest continuously in science and to find always new benefits for OptiMSM. And without spoiling the results, because the study is not published yet, we notice that there is a huge white space in the world of science, which is the inclusion of women in clinical studies. In sports clinical studies, only 6% of the studies are made exclusively on female athletes, which means that we know little about how their body works and how their performance is impacted by hormones. It's also a wide space for formulators. So only 3% of global performance nutrition, food, drinks, vitamins, and supplement launches launched in the past 5 years had a female-specific claim. And this is what, the women are expecting now. So we have new science coming soon, and we hope to have a webinar with you again in October, showing that new research, OptiMSM delivers multiple benefits through the cycle for female athletes, such as decreasing knee joint laxity, reducing post-exercise joint inflammation, aiding recovery by increasing fatigue resistance, and helping ligaments stay more resilient during exercise. So we've workshopped a few examples of concepts to inspire you in your region. This one is a gummy concept. So now that we have, exciting claims that a low dose of 1 gram per day, you can easily, fit OptiMSM into 3 gummies and have, a recovery after exercise type of convenient format to really fuel your performance and your exercise session. Another example to inspire you of what you can do is have a mix of OptiMSM with a very trendy ingredient that we also have at Balchem, which is creatine magna para, which is a blend of creatine and magnesium to support healthy muscles. And if you mix, this MSM, vitamin D, and creatine magna para all together, you have the perfect perform, recover, repeat type of formulation for recovery after exercise. But don't take my word for it. The proof is what our actual customers are doing on their market. And this is just a few of the examples of actual products that are existing in the US or in other countries with MSM as the hero or supporting ingredients. For joint health, you have also sports nutrition with the Ghost product in the middle, which is very big in the US, but also beauty formulations, because it's not the topic of this webinar, but you do have a lot of beauty benefits of taking a sulfur compound such as MSM. The question now is why choose OptiMSM over any MSM on the market? It's a no-brainer, really. OptiMSM is a quality brand, so we strive for excellence at Balchem. So we have earned over our 35 years of experience the reputation of being a quality brand that's trusted for its high standards of excellence. So we are the purest MSM on the market because we have a unique process. It's a distillation process. So we don't use crystallization. We're going to see that in the following slides. And it means that our product is virtually 100% pure and is consistent batch to batch because every single batch is tested. You're not going to have one good batch and one bad batch like you can have with competition. Everything is consistent and tested. As I said, 30 years of experience with all the certification you may need, and also, the only GRAS designated MSM in the US. So it's really, a stamp of quality, gluten-free, allergen-free, and always vegan. It's important to know that we are the only MSM made in the USA from global ingredients. So I have the question sometimes, why distillation is best versus crystallization? Well, distillation is not going to entrap impurities like you can see on the right, where we zoom in on the actual MSM molecule and you can see that some remainders of impurities are being entrapped in those crystals. When you don't have this issue when you have OptiMSM, because we use a distillation system, so you have really a pure MSM. We constantly check that our MSM is superior in quality. So we've had a recent, analysis of materials coming from overseas versus OptiMSM, and the results really speak for themselves. So OptiMSM assayed way higher than any competitive material you could find around the globe, but also had 3 times fewer elements than competition. So when you test, these materials for like different elements, you're going to find some of it remaining in the product, but far, far less for OptiMSM versus competition. But the most compelling point that we found out is that 40% of the samples we tested from competition had actual detectable levels of lead. So this is not a good selling point for this competition. We are absolutely always within specs, and be careful which MSM you choose, because some of that MSM could potentially contain lead, and you don't want to have to disclose that to your consumers. OptiMSM is also a very convenient ingredient because it works in a lot of applications. It's very easy to formulate with. So from tablets to RTDs to gummies to stick packs to liquids, even topical applications if you want it, it really works in any type of application. And the dosage is very flexible. We know how to mask it, and we would be very happy to work with you if you need any help in formulating anything with OptiMSM. So with that, we are ending our presentation. I will hand over to Liz to see if maybe any of you has any questions. And thank you very much. And just in case, you will see us at Valley Foods Asia, where we will be happy to see you in person.
Thank you. Great work, team. And sorry, everybody, for the technical difficulties. We do have a couple of questions. One is kind of largely around the evidence for people on GLP-1 medication and wanting to understand kind of overall benefit to wellness, joint support, skin care, hair fall, that sort of thing. Are you guys able to talk to that at all?
I can take that if you'd like. So MSM does support your skin. We know that it reduces fine lines and wrinkles. That's been well documented and helps with moisture retention and whatnot. So as you lose weight, and you can get wrinkles, it's not going to, like if you're losing 50, 60, 70 pounds and your skin's been stretched out, it's not going to just, it can't just take it all up real tight, but it does maintain healthy skin. It will help, like if you're in lower weight loss. So it does help maintain healthy skin with that, right? And again, what we've seen in the studies is people maintaining a normal weight, and it's in crow's foot area, the this area around the nose and the lips. All that has been shown to reduce those fine lines and wrinkles and help with like skin firmness and whatnot. So it helps, but you know, when you're looking at GLP-1s and major weight loss, you're maintaining healthy skin, but it's not going to be the magic answer to not getting a little bit of saggy skin if you're dropping, you know, 30, 40, 50 pounds, right? I mean, that's just not possible with a dietary supplement. Remember, what we're doing is we're providing nutritional support. Now, with hair loss, a lot of people will experience hair loss on a GLP-1, and that's because what's happening is and it causes something called telogen effluvium, which is anytime you have a metabolic change, right? And that can be, you know, a lot of women experience temporary hair loss from childbirth. You know, and you're putting a stress or a change on the body. So a metabolic stress can lead to temporary hair loss. So it's not the GLP-1 per se itself, right? It's the change in metabolic or in metabolism within the body that's leading to temporary hair loss. And we have shown, not in GLP-1, the MSM did seem to help people overcome that temporary hair loss. So
Thanks, Rod. Oh, can you hear me okay? Yep. Can you please talk to which grade would be most suitable for a liquid formulation in terms of a ready to mix? Would it be best to do the flakes or the microprill?
I usually recommend using the flake because the microprill, all the microprill has a certain amount of silicon dioxide. It'll be either 1/10% or 0.5%. And the silicon dioxide will not dissolve. Now, it's a small enough amount that it generally isn't going to be noticeable. But if you don't need it in there, then why use it? And you're going to get a little bit of clumping when you're using the flake because there is no flow agent. That's why the silicon dioxide's in there. But it's going to dissolve. So the best way to do it is to take your water phase, depending on, you know, whatever you're putting it into, dissolve it in there at elevated temperature. It is a negative heat of reaction, or excuse me, of solution. Sorry, it's getting late here. But when it dissolves in the water, it will lower the temperature. So you're better to start off with a little bit warmer water, hot water if you can, dissolve the MSM, and then go forward with the rest of whatever, you know, you're putting it into. It is very thermally stable. It's also very pH stable. So if you're putting it into an RTD or anything like that, any kind of liquid formulation, and I do recommend the flake. Why put something in there that you don't need, which would be the silicon dioxide?
Thanks, Rod. Does OptiMSM already have a study that combines it with hyaluronic acid? Can you talk to the compatibility of the two materials if they're used together? So OptiMSM and hyaluronic.
There is.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so there's no studies that I am aware of the two directly combined for skin health. But I can tell you from personal experience and putting them together that I have put them together in a number of different ways and different formulations. And they both seem to be very compatible, and there's some very interesting ways to combine them. But as far as looking at like a study that might look at hyaluronic acid and MSM and then the two together, there's none that I'm aware of that have looked at that to see if you get additional benefits. They're both good for skin health and whatnot. So there is one study that's actually pending publication right now that was done it was a rodent study and in vitro study being combined. That's pending publication right now. And we did see that MSM increased hyaluronic acid in, I think it was human dermal fibroblasts. So that was an interesting finding. But they, have different mechanisms. So I would expect them to be very compatible and I'm not going to say synergistic, but they would be, I think they would complement each other if they were co-formulated.
Thank you, Rod. There's a question here about market examples of a ready-to-mix formulation, and I think Jessica, you shared one, which was a ghost one. And we are also working on some for VitaFoods Asia, which will be a powder to liquid formulation, which you're welcome to try if you're attending the show. But do you want to just maybe bring that slide up that just shows the market examples?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
So here, this one here, I don't know if you can see it, Ghost, is an orange flavored powder for sports and joints, containing 1 gram of MSM. If you're looking for more examples of MSM being in powders, David Beckham's brand, IMH, which is hugely successful in the US and Europe, also is in a powdered form containing OptiMSM. So that's something that can be easily done. And yes, as Liz mentioned, we have, we're going to have examples for you at VitaFoods so you can actually taste and see how it's made.
Just maybe we'll make this one the last one since we've got a couple of minutes left. It's hopefully a bit easier. Can you talk to any interactions that OptiMSM might have within a formulation? So anything it cannot be combined with that we've tested for stability?
It's actually very stable and it can be formulated with a lot of different things. Where you're going to run into trouble is when, or challenges with formulating is putting it into like an oil matrix because it is water soluble or whatnot. If you're in a dry powder matrix, it goes in with just about anything. It's very stable. If you're going into a liquid, try and stay away from oils because it's not soluble in oil. It's, but as far as in dry formulations, I have not found anything that it's incompatible with. And I mean, I've been doing it for 29 years now. And so doesn't mean there's not something out there, but there's nothing that I've come across to date as far as other dry powders.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jessica and Rod, for this information-packed session. It was really, really interesting. And thank you to everybody for attending. I hope you got a lot out of it. We have scheduled our next webinar for the 24th of September. It will be on advancing cardiovascular health, so clinical insights from the latest K2 Vital research. So we'll just unpack a little bit more about some of the more recent clinical trials to do with cardiovascular health. So we will look out for an email about that, and you can register for that, and also look out for the recording and the slides for today's session. So thank you very, very much for attending. Have a great rest of day, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the presentation.
Thanks.